Everybody, Cashflow Chris here, taking on.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Cashflow Chris here at
What's up, everybody? Cashflow Chris with Investors Edge Real Estate Group here. All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to day 4 of Limitless. You are at the Leveling Up Book Club. It's Friday, it's 10 a.m., so that's why we are here, and this is what we do every single Friday. So this is the last day of Limitless. And I'm excited to announce that we are going to have one more book for July, and it'll probably roll through August. And this is a book, I don't even think I have it here. So this is a book that many of us read back when it first came out. The book is 4-Hour Work Week. It's by Timothy Ferriss. We all know Timothy, he's a phenom, and that book kind of changed a lot of things for a lot of people. So my buddy Paul suggested it, and I was just thinking, you know what, I think that would be a really good one because I read that like 10 years ago. I think it came out like 8 to 10 years ago. That's when I read it, and holy crap, like I'm such a different person now than I was then. So I can just imagine that I'm just going to take a completely new look. So Pat, if you're still down, no pressure if you're not, we'll figure it out. Pat, if you, yeah, okay. So Pat's going to be hosting for July, which is awesome. I'm going to go spend some time with my family. We're going to go camping, and I won't even have access. So I will be a member and I will show up for it, but I will not be leading it. Pat, thank you. If you guys want to do it, or if you know somebody who would be great at this, please let me know. We don't have to run one book. We can run several books. It doesn't have to be me. I would love to have somebody else come in and do this, especially if they're really good at it. Maya creates all the materials for us. And so, you know, you don't really have to do a lot of work. You just have to know the book and then, you know, take your notes because you're going to be presenting it the next week. So if anybody's interested in that, please reach out. And also, lastly, if you have any books that we need to read. Now, what kind of books do we read in the Leveling Up Book Club? They are typically going to be either personal development and or business books, but they have to, you have to be able to implement what you learn. That's why I think 4-Hour Work Week is going to be a great one. I mean, it's nothing but implementation in there. And we're all entrepreneurs. We all work way too hard, way too many hours. So we need to learn how to automate and cut those out. Lastly on that, I've seen so many people who were successful business owners, maybe in real estate or whatnot, and they found or created a product, an online product. That's why I'll challenge all of us, including me. My online product is going to be the Cashflow Chris program, but it doesn't even have to be in real estate. Think of a product that you can create once and sell over and over and over and over and over again. My business partner, Brian, is doing that right now. It's called Unfuck Your Mindset. And he's creating a course that, you know, once it's up and running, it'll probably sell for around $1,000, $500 to $1,000. And he's done with it. Like, he doesn't have to make it again. He doesn't have to take a consultation. He doesn't have to do anything. He doesn't even have to be alive, really. I mean, Jim Rohn, how much of Jim Rohn's stuff is still being sold? So think about that for as we go into next month's book of the month, which is going to be, again, 4-Hour Work Week. We got the Don in the house. We got all of our usuals. I appreciate you guys showing up. I'm so glad. I mean, I think most of you guys have been here for all 4 days. And today is where the rubber meets the road, as they will say. You know, this is where we start to implement what we've learned. So let's get started. All right, part 4, limitless methods, the how. We talked about the mindset, the possibility. We talked about motivation, which is the purpose. And now we're going to be talking about the methods, which is the process. Method, a specific process for accomplishing something, especially an orderly, logical, or systematic way of instruction. Oh, I just read that. You've learned how to approach each day with a productive mindset, and you've learned how to do so with an optimal level of motivation. But there is one more M that differentiates limitless people from those who are encumbered by their limitations: the method. Method is the process of learning how to learn, also called meta-learning. In this section, you are going to learn the science of accelerated learning and meta-learning in 5 areas: focus, study, memory, speed reading, and thinking. Whenever you want to achieve something, keep your eyes open, concentrate, and make sure you know exactly what you want, what it is you want. No one can hit their target with their eyes closed. So, what can I learn from what I'm like when I'm most focused? How can I increase my ability to concentrate? And how do I limit my distraction and calm with my busy mind? Focus allows us to train our brain power on particular tasks to burn throughout the task. It's amazing what we can accomplish when we're focused. Conversely, when we're less focused, we're less likely to accomplish what we truly want to because we're just not committed, both emotionally and physically, to doing it. The primary enemy to focus is distraction. So rate your current level of concentration from 0 to 10. Now rate your desire to increase this level. Your concentration is like a muscle. You can train to become stronger with practice. Give me a type in the comments. What's your level right now? What is your current level of concentration when you're at work? Practicing concentration. Concentration is at the crux of all human success and endeavor. If you can't concentrate, you can't manifest. So concentration is a critical component of anything you want to accomplish. In order to excel at concentration, you need to make yourself keep the ball of light trained in one spot in your mind for an extended period. This won't be easy at first, but a conscious effort to exercise your willpower in this way is likely to lead to impressive results. Another key to boosting your concentration is decluttering your environment. So if you want to be a master at concentration, divest yourself of the potential for distraction whenever concentration is critical. Let's see if I have any notes on this yet. I rated my level of concentration like a 5. I don't concentrate well in the past. 5, we got a 6, we got a 5, a 6, and a 5. Yeah, kids around, man. Kids will knock that down in a second. More on the physical. So physical clutter in your surroundings competes for your attention, which results in decreased performance and increased anxiety and stress levels. So if you want to become a master at concentration, divest yourself from the potential for distraction whenever concentration is critical. If you're working on your computer, shut down every application. Limit the number of items in your physical workspace as well. All right, also right now, in the comments, how many tabs you got up right now? Put it in there. All right. Calming your busy mind. Unlimiting your focus requires more than just getting to the tasks at hand. Tools like meditation, yoga, and certain martial arts can be tremendously valuable in helping you calm your busy mind. But if you're in the middle of the day and can't afford to get away for a few minutes, here are some things you can do. Number 1, breathe, breathe, breathe. Meditation. We all know how good it is for us. Sometimes in the morning when I'm really tired, I get super irritated and I have to go breathe. Just getting that oxygen in just reduces my stress. Do something that has been causing you stress. So this talks about how we just push it back all the time, right? So if you want to calm your busy mind, get the things that you're thinking of, the things that keeps popping in your head. Oh, I gotta do that. Oh, I gotta do that. Either write it down, give it away, or just do it. Get it off your plate. And then schedule time for distractions. So schedule your next distraction time. He was earlier in the book talking about 25 minutes. I know a lot of people have told me that they've been doing that and it's been really helpful. White space. It is the thinking time, the strategic pause that is in between the busyness and the oxygen that allows everything else to catch fire. All right. More notes that I have on this chapter is, so talking about white space, talking about distractions. So this study shows how distractions can really disrupt your day. You have to completely shift your thinking. It takes you a while to get into it, and it takes you a while to get back and remember where you are. We found that 82% of all interrupted work is resumed on the same day. But here's the bad news. It takes an average of 23 minutes and 15 seconds to get back to the task. Tools like meditation, yoga, we talked about that. I found it interesting that they say when we get distracted, it takes 23 minutes to get back on track, but then they also tell you to take a break every 25 minutes. So I don't know what that's about. Any comments or things that you want to talk about on chapter 11 on focus? What do you guys do to focus? Is your space cluttered?
I cleared my entire desk, so I don't have any like pictures or even like I used to have like my vision board up. I even removed it so I could just have the laptop there.
Nice. I'm horrible with clutter. Here, I'm gonna bring you into my world real quick. Oh, I don't know if I should do this. So, look at all that crap. Oh, look at all that crap. And there's my business partner's desk. He never has anything here. But he doesn't really work out of this office either. So I'm horrible with clutter. Every Friday after this, I got to go and I just got to clean it up. Let's see. We got 3 tabs, 4 tabs, 7 tabs. We're busy. Anybody else have anything on focus on chapter 11? On calming your busy mind? Who here meditates? Does that help you meditating?
Trying.
I meditate, but I'm having trouble right now with, falling asleep while meditating. That's something that I gotta just, I don't know. I guess with more practice, I get too comfortable, I guess.
I usually fall asleep to a meditation at night. So yeah, I have the same problem.
Are you guys like sitting up and falling asleep? How does that work?
I'm sitting up. It's usually like maybe half an hour after I get up. I already did a couple stretches, and then I sit down, earbuds in, and then like 3 to 5 minutes in, I start dozing off already.
Wow.
Might need more sleep, Michael. Sound like you're tired. Anybody else have anything on chapter 11? All right, let's move on to chapter 12, study. If I'm going to be a lifelong student, how can I optimize my study time? Is cramming the best way to learn something? How do I become a better note taker? So I'm a crammer, man. You talk about high school, I never studied at all until the last minute. And I don't know, it worked for me, but I guess there's definitely a better way. Any sense of constraint fades when you've learned how to absorb a subject in a sitting. Remember what you've learned, have the ability to highlight the most essential points, and have an understanding of how people learn. You can learn how to unlimit your studies. And when you do it, it'll be a superpower you'll employ the rest of your life. So quick start. Think of a topic or subject you'd like to learn this month. How would you go about studying this topic? Give me some topics. What do you guys want to learn? We talked last week about how I want to learn Spanish. What do you guys want to learn? What's an interesting topic or subject you want to learn?
For me, it'd probably be just like the overall anatomy of the human body. I don't know, it's something I've always been interested in. No particular reason. That's not anything that I'm looking to pursue as a career, but just to know what the hell's wrong with your body, if there is anything wrong, and to be able to identify it.
Yeah, what'd she say earlier? She said, I have to know how my body, or once I know how my brain works. What was that? Let me look that up. I had it written down. It was in the audio, it was where the lady he was talking to said something. Oh, maybe I didn't write it down. Oh, well. Anybody else? What do you want to learn, guys? Here, we got a couple comments. Let's see what we got in the chat. ClickFunnels. Eve wants to learn ClickFunnels. Absolutely. And master the art of time blocking. That's a great one, Elizabeth. That is a very good one. All right. Thanks for chiming in, everybody. The 4 levels of competence. Since the 60s, psychologists have noted there are 4 levels of competence of learning. Oh man, Jeff Fagan, my mentor, teaches this all the time. This is a big T. Harv Eker thing. So first of all, it's unconscious incompetence. You don't know what you don't know. Conscious incompetence. Now you do know that you're aware that you don't know that. Next is conscious competence. You're aware of it and you have the capacity to perform it, but you have to actively put your mind to it. And then unconscious competence. You know how to perform a skill and it's second nature to you, such as driving, right? We all are unconsciously competent. So I'm sorry, we are unconsciously, competent. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah, excellent job.
Yes.
Yeah, good. True mastery. This is a step beyond unconscious competence to where there is a second nature to performing a skill at an elite level. This is the level of being limitless. And if you're going to be a master, you're going to need to study like a superhero. So, how to study better. The most successful people in the world are lifelong students. We know this. This is a step beyond unconscious competence to where it's a second nature. Oh, that's the same thing. I just read that. Maya, fix the slide. But what about cramming? Many people believe that cramming is their most effective form of preparation. Chances are good that it is not. The effect of primary and recency on memory. If you tend to remember the first thing and the most recent thing best, cramming a huge amount of information between the first and the most recent thing is only going to lead you to having more things that you forget. So here are 7 simple habits to unlimit your studies. Habit 1, employ active recall. Before we hit this, let me make sure I didn't have any notes. No, we went over that. The key is to get from conscious competence to unconscious competence. It's obvious. It's practice. Practice makes progress. And we talked about the true mastery. We talked about cramming. Sleep deprivation impedes learning. He says this many times. Cramming leads to many unwanted side effects, including impaired mental function, because you're usually sleep deprived when that happens. Concentrating on one subject for many hours makes it less likely that you're going to retain the information. If you tend to remember, we talked about that. All right, habit 1, employ active recall. To employ active recall, do this. Review the material you are studying, then close the book, turn off the phone or lecture, and write down and recite everything you remember from what you just reviewed. Now look at the material again. How much did you remember? So let's see. Active recall is a process through which you review material. Most students do not realize how important it is to force themselves to recall. They are conditioned by multiple choice tests to recall passively. That is, recognize when a correct answer is presented, as opposed to generating the correct answer in the first place. All right, I want to talk about this one real quick. So do we have any real estate agents out here? I know we do. Did you have a problem where you knew the answer, but so what they do with the real estate school is they give you the answer every different way. And so when you go take a test, you won't read it. You'll see it, you'll see the multiple choice, and you'll know what the answer is, but they always twist it. And that's how I failed my real estate school exam 5 times, because I wasn't paying attention. I wasn't learning what it was. I was putting a question and an answer together. And so when that answer was different, even though it looked the same, it completely threw me off. Has anybody else had issues with that?
Yeah, Chris, I had the exact same experience. It made it a rough last year in college.
Right. Elizabeth says she has, he's in a, oh, Don's listening. Don't worry about it. Not talking. Yeah, I mean, crazy that's just time after time after time, man. I'm just not learning it. So on this section, let me go back to that. They say to review it like 3 or 4 times if you really want to learn it. So read it, write down what you learned, and then review what you learned. And when we go, anytime I've gone to training events and stuff like that with people, I love going over notes, like what did you learn? What was that big aha for you? What did you take away? You know, because a lot of times, especially when you're taking notes and they'll talk about this, you know, you don't hear some things, you miss some things, maybe you went to the bathroom, whatever. And then hearing how other people take the same material and how they interpret it differently than you, I think is really interesting. Number 2, employ spaced repetition. Spaced repetition is simple but highly effective because it deliberately hacks the way your brain works. By spacing the intervals out, you're further exercising these connections each time. It produces long-term durable retention of knowledge. Habit 3, manage the state that you are in. I think this is a huge one. A lot of us have issues with. The state you're in when you perform any activity will have the greatest impact on your success. Don't go to that listing appointment when you're pissed off or depressed, or especially if you don't have a good personal feeling about yourself. You know, if you're feeling bad about yourself, it'll show. The more positive, the resourceful your state, the greater the results you produce. Studying is no different. Your posture also controls the state of mind. Sit as if you're about to learn the most crucial, life-changing information. When you sit straight, it also facilitates breathing and the circulation of necessary oxygen to your brain and the rest of your body. Habit 4, use your sense of smell. Smells are especially effective at bringing memories to the forefront of our brains. The scent of a rosemary has been shown to improve memory. Peppermint and lemon promotes concentration. This was interesting. So incoming smells are first processed by the olfactory bulb. The olfactory bulb has direct connection to the 2 brain areas that are strongly implicated in emotion and memory, the amygdala and hippocampus. Interestingly, visual, auditory, which is sound, and tactical, which is touch, information do not pass through these brain areas. That's interesting. That may be why olfaction, more than any other sense, is so successful at triggering emotions and memories. So smell. If you're studying for a big test, put a bit of particular essential oil on your wrist while you're studying, and then make sure you do the same thing before you take the test. So that was his little hack. When you're in your zone, when you put a not too stinky scent on you, and then do the same thing for your test, and it's going to take you back to where you were studying. Music in the mind. Music stabilizes mental, physical, and emotional rhythms to attain a state of deep concentration and focus in which large amounts of content information can be processed and learned. The greatest impact for your success. I love listening to music when I study, man. I love it. I love it. The beat just keeps me going. Numerous studies link music to learning. The arousal and mood hypothesis, the arousal and mood hypothesis identifies a connection between music and mood and the subsequent connection between mood and learning, suggesting that music can put us in conditions that improve our ability to learn. Music stabilizes mental, physical, and emotional rhythms. Baroque music especially is 50 to 80 beats per minute, creates an atmosphere of focus that leads students into deep concentration. I don't know about the beats per minute, but I would bet you if you looked at certain hip hop, it's the same, because for me, I don't know. For me, it works. I don't know if you guys are the same. Habit 6, listen with your whole brain. Listening is critical to learning as we spend a large percentage of our waking time listening. To help alleviate this problem, just remember the acronym HEAR. H is for halt. Halt. Stop doing what you are doing, pay attention. E is for empathy. Care about what the person's saying to you. A is for anticipate. And R is for review. Anticipate is to engage in the experience with a sense of anticipation. Remember that learning is state dependent, and what you learn from this speaker will become a long-term memory if you attach emotion to it. So yeah, that's for emotion. And then R is for review, which says ask clarifying questions if possible. Electronic music in the background while studying, says Michael. Yes, 100%. 100%. All right, habit number 7, take note of taking notes. Notes allow you to organize and process information in a way that makes it most likely that you can use this information afterwards. If you take notes with a goal in mind, every note you take will have a relevance. Most importantly, make sure you're really listening. You're not their secretary. You're there as someone who is receiving the information for later use. So remember the TIP. T is for think, I is for identify, and P is for priority. And another note on that. The ultimate advantage of taking notes is that they customize the information you need to retain your vocabulary and your mode of thinking. At their best, notes allow you to organize and process information in a way that it makes it most likely you can use this information afterwards. So notes are obviously just for you. By being clear on your intention with your notes, you're able to distinguish between information that is relevant to you and information that is not relevant. Once you're clear on your goals, take an active approach to note taking. Listen with the intention of getting exactly what you need and write the notes in ways that benefit you to recall later. We talked about that. Writing by hand requires you to start processing the material immediately, and it has proven to be more effective. They say writing notes on a laptop is not good. Most importantly, make sure you're really listening. You are there as someone who is receiving the information for later use. On your notes, there's a method that he calls capture and create. On the left side of your paper, you're capturing, you're taking notes. On the right side, you're creating, you're making notes. You're writing your impression of what you are capturing. How can I use this? Why must I use this? When will I use this? Review your notes immediately after. This will help you retain the information for much more effectively than if you don't read your notes for days. All right. And that is chapter 12. Thoughts, comments? What did you take away from that?
Yeah, I thought the idea of adding in music while you're trying to focus was like, I don't know why I've never done it in my life, but I definitely want to add that layer in. I thought it was pretty interesting that it will help you focus. I thought it always would be.
I think beats, because Mozart and all that, it's just music, it's not words. So I think just beats is very helpful, because once you get lyrics in there, now you might start listening to the lyrics, but the beat just kind of keeps the tone for you. Anybody else got any tips on taking notes? Are you a handwriter? Are you a typer?
I thought it was interesting what they said about handwriting versus using a computer, because my handwriting kind of sucks. So sometimes I use a computer. It's easier to use, but they say that your retention rate isn't nearly as high if you use electronics to take notes. I thought that was kind of cool. And then for me, I like to listen to cover music, acoustic versions of songs I like. So there's no words in it, but it's stuff that I know. I think that's my go-to background music, just Radiohead covers that are acoustic, things like that. I think that's kind of cool for me.
Nice. Yeah, get those, the music is going, but the words are gone, so you're not focused on that. Anybody else?
For me, it took a little while to get comfortable at doing it, because you just got to have the right music at the right tone, but once you got it, it became pretty automatic. I can tell by even how neatly I write, how much I'm concentrating. The neater I get, the more concentration I notice in my note taking when I do that.
That's interesting. All right, good stuff. Anybody else? Move on to chapter 13, memory. If we all did the things we are capable of doing, we would literally astound ourselves. Thomas Edison, that's a smart dude. What can I do to improve my memory right away? How do I keep a big chunk of information in my memory? And how can I easily access the information when I need it? Yes, your brain is an organ, but it acts like a muscle, and it most significantly resembles a muscle that is a use it or lose it device. Our brains stay fit only when we make a concerted effort to keep them fit. If we fail to keep our brains in shape, either through laziness or being overly dependent on technology, it becomes flabby. You can always rely on mom. He comes back to this one a few times. Memory is arguably the most important part of the learning process. If you could not remember, then you cannot learn anything. How would you rate your memory right now? What aspects would you like to improve? So rate your memory right now in the notes. And what aspects of your memory would you like to improve? There's no such thing as a good memory or a bad memory. There's only a trained memory and an untrained memory. Why is memory so important if you're going to unlimit yourself? Because your memory serves as the foundation for every action you take now, every once in a while, you will take in the future. Mom is for motivation, the first M. The simple fact that we are considerably more likely to remember things that we are motivated to remember. O is for observation. Condition yourself to be truly present in any situation where you want to remember something. And M is for methods. Make sure you're always carrying around these in your mental toolkit and be sure to employ them to the point where they become second nature. Oops. Let's see what people got. Come on. This chat box does not want to come up for me. Five reasons why improving memory is essential. Memorization is discipline for the mind. You can't always Google it, and memorization creates a repertoire of what we think about. We think with the ideas held in working memory, which can only be accessed at high speed from the brain's stored memory. The exercise of the memory develops learning and memory schema that promote improved ability to learn. The Baker-Baker paradox. For example, it turned out to be significantly easier for a participant to remember that someone was a baker than that their last name was Baker. It illustrates that creating associations for ourselves is likely to boost our memories dramatically. Anybody do that? They put a picture to a face or a name or a word. So here, let me stop share so I can pull up the notes and see what everybody says. Michael wants to improve his short-term memory. 7, he's great at Pat's great at remembering conversations, but not the best at memorizing precise data and numbers. Okay, and JT is a 7 as well. So one of the, I forget where, I think it was at the beginning when he talks about when you're trying to remember a name, you got to put something to it, put a picture to it. And so I went over to my parents' house and they had a guy helping them and his name was James. So when he told me his name was James, I first tried to put it to, I put it to Rick James, right? And then I thought of Chappelle, I'm Rick James, bitch, right? But that didn't work for me because it was the second word and I didn't have a picture to go to it. So when I went back, I forgot I was consciously trying to remember this guy's name. His name's James, for God's sakes. It's not a crazy name. And I still forgot it. And so when my dad introduced me to him for the second time in 10 minutes, which is okay because he's getting old, that's all right. James, so I had to put something else to it, but I needed James to be the first word because Rick James threw me off. I knew it was something, right? I knew it was like a two
James Brown, man, come on.
Yeah. So, but the thing that popped into my head is James and the Giant Peach. So not only did I have James on it, but I see this kid with this gigantic peach. And now I'm never going to forget James's name because it's James and the Giant Peach. So
that's pretty good.
It's crazy, right? Like, I really like, now I got to find a way to, later on in the book, he talks about how to remember things is to put a significance to them. So for example, my GC, my contractor's wife she does all of our paint color and schemes and all that. So she's our designer. And I could never remember her name. Now I remember he says, just call her Marge, because that's the white people name for her, right? For people who don't want to actually learn her name. But I always forget her name. It's a weird name. It's not a name that I've ever heard before. And I gotta figure out a way to do that to where it always comes back. My business partner, he remembers everybody's name. And so I don't know, it's that part of his brain works, I guess. So I gotta work on that, on remembering weird names or names that I'm not used to hearing. Anybody else have any comments on that part of it? Otherwise, we're right in the middle. We'll get going.
Chris, I always remember people's names by where they're from, or like sports teams that they like, and that always works for me because I've traveled a lot, lived in a lot of places, so made it pretty easy.
And you know what? It's probably because he talks about being observant, right? You care about sports teams. Like if you didn't know much about NFL, you wouldn't tie it to a sports team, to an NFL
That's
team.
so true.
Because it's what you care about. The
49ers, case in point.
Right, exactly. So a guy that I used to work with, he used to set his lock boxes on players. So 5289, he was a Raiders fan. So 5289 was our lockbox code. It was because of see, now I can't remember I remember the players and their numbers, but I don't even remember their names. Mack. So Khalil Mack was a Raider, and then their receiver, the guy who went to the Cowboys, wears number 89.
Yeah, Cooper.
So what's that?
I think it was Cooper.
Yeah, Amari Cooper. So when they were on the Raiders, Amari was 89. The other guy was 52. And so I don't remember the name. I remember the players. I don't remember the lockbox combination. I remember the two players. And there you go. It's kind of weird, right? But if I didn't know who those players were, if he said, oh, yeah, it's this number because of this, it would have just gone away.
That's really good stuff right there, because I actually tried on my neighbor. I couldn't remember the husband's name, and they keep walking around my house. So like not in a bad thing, but they were jogging around the neighborhood. But I was like, okay, hey, I'm going to associate his name with something that kind of rhymes with it, or like a TV character or whatever. But for the life of me, like an hour later, I forgot it already. I'm like, dang. But that's because I didn't care about the TV character, or I didn't care about, it rhyming with something. But if I were to associate it with something that was kind of like personalized to me, like something Houston related, or football or basketball related, or real estate related, like James the Carpenter or something like that, like I think I probably would have, it would have stuck with me. So that's dope. I appreciate that.
So what's his name?
Oh, I don't know. I'm gonna have to figure it out.
but you care now. Now it's a point of pride for you now. I guarantee you, when we talk next Friday, you know that guy's name.
Yeah, that's the plan, man.
Absolutely, good stuff, man. All right, we're coming back up on it. I know not everybody was here, so if you want to give it a try, Jonathan already won a book. So you were supposed to have read this chapter, which was on memory, and you were supposed to remember 10 words. So if you want to win a free book, turn your camera on, look directly in it, and give me the 10 words in order. Does anybody want to try? All right, no worries. Fire hydrant, balloon, battery, barrel, board, diamond, knight, ox, toothpaste, sign. And again, we went over this before, but let's do it again just for this. So he talks about making a story about it, right? You got to create a story because it's just so much easier to memorize. So when we did that, so you're supposed to look at those and then you read on to the next page, and then you're supposed to write down what you remembered. I remembered balloon, barrel, and diamond. So I got 3. That's all I remembered. But then when he taught us how to put a story to it, then it was, so the fire hydrant was raised up in the air by a bunch of red balloons, which were popped by the batteries that were inside of a barrel that were on top of a board. And then a diamond fell and it hit the knight, and the knight ran into an ox who had to brush his teeth with toothpaste, and then they saw a big neon sign. Did I get that right? A knight, yeah. Isn't that weird? And now it's in my brain. I don't know if I'll ever forget those words. Actually, I did forget them earlier today. I had to review, but still, that was pretty amazing. So I did another one. And so what they asked you to do, where was it at? Okay, so they asked you to get a random book or just find random words. And so I grabbed my kids' book. They're starting school again, and I just went and picked out random words: April, dust, fire, arm, TV, poem, book, apartment, tennis, and Yellowstone. So let's see if I can recall it now, because I did this last night. So I want you guys to do this. Pick 10 words, random words. Now, they need to be something that is like nouns are good, you know, stuff like that. You don't want to have like the or stuff like that because it's hard to put a picture to the. But so when I did that, April, dust, fire, arm, TV, poem. Okay, so the way I did it was, this is how my brain works. So April, I just thought of April 20th, 420 creates a lot of dust because of people smoking weed. And then it was, what was it? It was the fire. No, because of the fire. The dust was created because of the fire. The arm was totally, I couldn't find anything for that. But the arm went with the TV. And then on the TV, they were reading a poem, and the poem was written on a gigantic book. And then, oh, what was it? I forget. Oh, yeah. So it was an apartment. It was an apartment that they threw tennis balls out to the tennis court, and they looked like yellow stones. So if I did it again, you know, last night it worked, so we'll see. That's good shit. There's a good chance that you remember the first word and the last word. This is a common phenomenon that we discussed back in chapter 4, known as primacy and recency, where people tend to remember the first thing as well as the most recent thing they heard in a given situation. All right, let's go back to this. You guys didn't know you were going to be able to win a free book. So that's the Baker paradox, right? It's knowing that somebody's last name is Baker doesn't resonate with you, but when you picture him with a big white baker's cap on, it's a lot easier to remember that he is a baker than having the name Baker. Recalling a great deal of information. The process of repeatedly saying or writing information down to remember it is called repetition learning, otherwise known as rote learning. Your active focus in memory. By taking a more active approach by learning, you will have greater results and the satisfaction that comes from involvement and personal awareness. Learning passively is weak. Actively learning is strong. Next, visualization. The visual memory is very powerful. By seeing the pictures the story paints, and not just the words that represent those pictures, you create a stronger means by which to remember. The secret of a good memory is attention, and attention to a subject depends on our interest to it. We rarely forget that which has made a deep impression on our minds. So Jonathan's neighbor has not made an impression on him. Association. This is key to memory and all of learning. In order to learn any new piece of information, it must be associated with something you already know. Emotion. Information by itself is forgettable, but information combined with emotion becomes a long-term memory. Information by itself is forgettable, but information combined with emotion becomes a long-term memory. Who knows something weird? If you write it down or pop up if you have something that you just remembered, maybe a weird fact that you know, but you only know it because something weird happened in your life. We've got a couple chats here. Come on, my chats aren't popping up. Oh, there we go. Not yet. State capital. State capitals. There you go. That's one. It's a great point about caring about the name. So state capitals, right? So we talked a few weeks ago about when we were kids, we were assigned states or countries. And my kid just did last year. He did Indiana. So like he has all this useless information about Indiana, and just because he cared about it and he put so much into it, like he's never gonna forget that stuff. It's like Oslo. I'll never forget. Oslo is the capital of Norway because I did it. That was my country to study. Next, location. We are really good at recalling places because we are hunter-gatherers. We didn't need to remember numbers and words. We needed to remember where things were. This is the power of working smart and not hard. This is the power of your imagination. This is the power of your mind. So, tool number 1, a quick way to remember everyone's name. B, believe you can do it. E is for exercise, practice it. S is to say it out loud. U is to use it. So when Jonathan talks to his neighbor next, he's going to use his name in the conversation. A is to ask. Ask your neighbor, oh, that's an interesting name. You know, who named you? Did your mom name you? Did your dad name you? Where did they, you know, are you named after somebody? Ask them. V is for visualization. That's your James and the Giant Peach. E is for end. When you part ways with a person, end your conversation by saying that person's name. So that's what we're all going to do to remember names. Believe you can do it. Practice it. Say the name back to them. Use their name in conversation without sounding like a total weirdo. Ask where a person's name came from. Try to attach an image to the person's name and end the conversation by saying the person's name. Bonus tool number 2, a quick way to remember vocabulary and languages. So this is the one I need to work on. So one of the most powerful concepts is word substitution. In the process of turning intangible, which is hard to picture information, to an image that is concrete and easy to visualize. For example, nitrogen can be a knight. Monroe can mean a man rowing. Monroe. Thoughts, ideas. Let's see. Let me see if by creating let's see. Word substitution is the process of turning intangible. We talked about that. By creating a picture of a word, you now have something more tangible, something that you can see. And then they go deep into other words, other languages, and how you can remember those words, even though they are not even in your language. Anybody resonate with anybody? Anybody have any thoughts on that? Remembering. Who's great at remembering names, just naturally? Anybody?
The fact that he was able to scan a large group of people, like he gave the example of how he'll walk into like a seminar or whatever and can remember 100 names or 100 like words thrown at him. I'm like, man, like that's just remarkable. I would love to be able to do something like this. It makes people feel special, you know?
It does. Saying someone's name, remembering their name, it's really does. And Jonathan, you got to remember, I don't know how old this dude is. He's at least 40, right? So he's been practicing this for 20 years, right? So imagine, you know, we had the list of 10 words and we could you figured out 10 words in 10 minutes. So how many words could you learn if you practice it, you know, all the time for 20 years, man? I mean, you're going to be old man Jonathan. You're going to know everybody's name. Like, oh, that guy knows everybody's name. And people will love you for it. They'll remember you because you remembered their name. That's huge. And it all came from Leveling Up Book Club. I'm going to take full credit for that one. Anybody else want to comment on that? Or let's move on to speed reading. We're at 11 o'clock already. Yeah, let's move forward. Leaders are readers. The man who does not read good books has no advantage of the man who can't read them. Oh, Mark Twain, my cousin. And dude just dropping knowledge left and right. Why is it so important to read? Why do I increase my reading, or how do I increase my reading in focus and comprehension? That's one of the big things. We don't want to just read fast. We want to understand what the hell we just read. And how can I get more out of every reading experience? Studies show that there is a direct relationship between your ability to read and your success in life. Skilled readers enjoy better jobs, higher incomes, and greater opportunities for success in all realms of life. How reading makes your brain limitless. Just as a memory is foundational for nearly all brain function, reading is foundational to nearly all learning. Reading kicks your brain into gear. It improves your memory. It improves your focus. It improves your vocabulary. Reading improves your imagination and your understanding. Challenges to reading. Before we look at the various ways to increase, let's look at the 3 barriers. Number 1, regression. Regression is a term used to describe the tendency that your eyes have to go back and reread certain words. Number 2, outdated skills. Reading is not so much as a measure of intelligence as it is a skill, and with any skill, it can be learned and improved. Subvocalization. Reading is not so much a measure of intelligence as it is a skill, and with any skill, it can be learned and improved. It was funny on the outdated skills. It's funny. You can tell this guy doesn't have kids, because in his book he says that any 5th grader could do this, and then he talks about how 5th graders are 7 years old. Definitely doesn't have kids, because we all know that. But he makes a good point. In 2nd grade, that's when we were taught how to read. And when was the last year in school that you had reading class? You know, it was probably in elementary school. That means we are reading the way that we learned how to read when we were very, very young. See if there's any notes. No notes. I didn't take a lot of notes on this because, again, I'm taking the class. Reading misconceptions. Faster readers don't comprehend well. That's a myth. Myth number 2, it's harder and takes more effort to read fast. And myth number 3, faster readers can't appreciate reading. Let's talk about concentration and comprehension. He talks in the book about, imagine you're just rolling through your neighborhood in your car. You know, you're waving to your neighbors. You're just, you're going 10, 15 miles an hour. You're just rolling, right? Are you concentrating on what's happening in the road? Are you focused? Are you comprehending it? No, you're not. Now, imagine you're on a racetrack. You're going 130 miles an hour. Are you concentrating? Like, hell yeah, you're concentrating. You're picking everything in because you have to. And so faster doesn't mean less comprehension by any means. Visual pacer. Give your reading the finger. Use your finger as a guide. Using your finger as a guide keeps your eyes focused and prevents them from wandering. It increases your reading speed because your eye is attracted to motion. How to read even faster. Here are some more tools that will help you become an accelerated reader. Number 1, it's like exercising. If you push yourself to read faster, your reading muscles will become stronger, and what was once hard becomes easy. You can read faster simply by training yourself to read faster. Expand your peripheral vision. Your peripheral vision is the span of letters or words that your eyes can see in a single glance. By increasing your peripheral vision, you will be able to see and take in more words at a time. Number 3, counting. Doing this process conditions you to subvocalize less, allowing you to see the words rather than say them, thus leading to better speed and comprehension. So he talks a lot about in the book about, and I don't know if you guys do this, I know for a fact I do this. You read in your head. Instead of just reading it, you talk. You say the words in your brain, and that right there slows you down. You can only speak, I think he said, like, I don't know, 200 words a minute. It's only possible to speak like 200 words a minute or something like that. But you can think much, much faster. So you got to stop saying the words in your brain and just reading. The quick start, block out at least 15 minutes each day for reading and put it on your calendar like an important appointment. Commit to making reading part of your daily habit. Do this, guys. Put it on your calendar. Time block, Elizabeth, time block. Unlimiting your reading and learning will offer you an unparalleled level of freedom. People who make the most of their capacity to learn find themselves experiencing the world with a sense of mastery and with the confidence that no task or challenge will intimidate them. So our family has set aside reading time at night, and it's a half hour, and we all stay in the living room and we turn off the TV and we all just read, and it's been awesome. All my family just loves to read. My wife is a crazy reader. She reads way more than I do. And then my kids, they just love reading as well. My wife used to read to my kids. They got a little bit bored of that. I used to love hearing that. I used to love watching that. Thinking is the hardest work there is, which is the probable reason why so few people engage in it. Henry Ford. Speed reading, who's doing it? Who's not doing it? Before we move on, identify your current reading habits that you'd like to change. Practice reading with a visual pacer each day. Make a list of books you want to read this month. Write them down. Put them in the notes. I want to know, what do you guys want to read this month? Any takeaways on that? Anybody want to discuss?
I like the idea of using your finger, because when you're a kid, you do it, and then you're taught not to do it. So it felt weird when I started doing it after reading this chapter, but then I realized, like, and I could totally just fly through stuff if I do it. So it felt weird for 10 minutes, but then I just, like, it was crazy fast.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's move forward. Chapter 15, thinking. And this is it, right? This is our last chapter. Yeah, so hopefully you guys are taking notes and practice reading with the visual pacer and make a list. I want to know what books those are. I got a few, actually. So I've already read this one, and I'm going to read it again. This is The Lazy Man's Way to Riches. It was, I don't know, it's from like the 50s or something. It's got some really good stuff in it. How to Win Friends and Influence People. Again, this is one that I read forever ago, and I'm a way different person than when I first started this entrepreneurial journey. And so I'm going to read that one again. I found this one in my library. We'll see. Get Big Things Done. I don't know. I bought it for a reason. Never read it. My good friend, Mark Lack. If you guys don't know Mark Lack, he is a marketing guru. Dude's brilliant. He wrote this book, and he gave it to me several years ago, and I never read it. Crazy. And then I'm doing this one right now. I'm going to work with my kids on this one. Rich Kid, Smart Kid. So I'm probably going to have my eldest, who's 12, read it along with me. I'll pay him for a book report. But I'm going to use what I learn in here to help my kids. All righty. Carnegie. Oh, Carnegie's book. That's a biography, I take it? I love biographies.
It's a really good one, man.
Really?
That one and Ted Turner's.
Wow, Ted Turner. I've heard Shoe Dog, or the Nike guy. I've heard that's an amazing book. So I'm gonna try those out. Outwitting the Devil, beautiful. That's a good one. All right, let's move on. Last chapter of the last day. This was one of my favorites. I don't know about you guys. This was one of my favorite books to date. Why is it important to think from a variety of perspectives? Why are the various ways? What are the various ways people use their intelligence? What kind of superpowers can you harness by thinking differently? The thinking hats. So in this chapter, they talked about the 6 thinking hats and using it as a tool for getting out of whatever rut of thinking one might be mired in. The core notion is to separate thinking into 6 distinctly defined functions by progressively donning a series of metaphorical hats. When you put on a white hat, you're in information gathering mode. You switch to your yellow hat to bring optimism to your thinking. Next, you wear your black hat to pivot from looking at the good side of the challenge to facing its difficulties and pitfalls. Once you've done that, you don your red hat to allow emotion to come into play. Next, it's time for the green hat. You're wearing this hat, you're in creativity mode. We can, let's see. We can't solve problems by using the same kind of thinking we used to create them when we created them. All perspectives should be challenged on a regular basis to confirm they are still viable. Another reason I want to read these books, these great books that we read 10 years ago, I want to read them again. You know, I'm sure I'm going to take away different things. Lastly, wear the blue hat to be in management mode and make sure you've addressed your agenda productively and gone through the process in a way that benefits from all other hats you've worn. The de Bono approach to problem solving is an ingenious and an elegantly organized method for getting the most from your thinking. First, make sure you're clear on what you need to address. Next, you determine that you have all the facts in front of you. Next, make sure you're dealing with the issue with a positive perspective, which I would say make sure you're in the right state. Then you get real about the challenges you're facing and allow yourself to feel what you're feeling about it. Let's see if I had any notes on that. How smart are you? Here are the 8 distinct forms of intelligence. Spatial, this is someone who usually thinks from the perspective of the space around them. Body, kinesthetic, someone who with a dominance of this form of intelligence uses their body as a form of expression or problem solving. Musical, this person has a strong sensitivity to rhythm, pitch, meter, tone, melody, and timbre. Linguistic, someone with a dominance in linguistic intelligence is particularly attuned to all the implications of words, not just the strict dictionary definition. Logical, mathematical, this is a strength in seeing the logical relations among actions and symbols. Interpersonal, someone with a dominance in interpersonal intelligence has a deep innate ability to connect with other people and a rich understanding of how others may be feeling at any given moment. I think this is our coaches a lot of times are these people. I just hired a new coach, man, and she sees whatever out of my words. She sees things way differently than the way I do, which is fantastic. Naturalistic, this is the kind of intelligence This kind of intelligence expresses itself in an ability to see the world of nature in all of its complexities. Awareness of all 8 and considering each while considering your 6 thinking hats is a remarkably effective way to unlimit your thinking. So what is your learning style? Which of those resonated with you guys? Which kind of intelligence do you have? Shout it out.
Kinetic.
Kinetic, okay.
Yeah, I'm definitely kinesthetic.
Okay. I'd say I would be a little bit more logical, mathematical. Who's a great speaker here? Who's linguistic? A lot of people. I think, a lot of people that we pay attention to, I think that's who a lot of entrepreneurs resonate towards, linguistic people. Gary Vee's very linguistic, right? He just says things that resonate with you differently than if other people say the exact same thing. Maya is logical, mathematical. Pat is kinesthetic. All right, good stuff. Mental models. Mental models are constructs for thinking that help us make sense of the world around us. Models can act as shortcuts that save you valuable energy and time when you're evaluating an idea, making a decision, or problem solving. So this is going to take just a minute, guys, but I really want to run through this. There's a test. I'm going to pause the recording so we don't bore anybody on YouTube. But get a pencil or a pen, and I want you to take this test with me. Let's stop the share. There we go. All right. So we talked about what is our learning style, audio, visual, or kinesthetic. We got our mental notes. Mental notes are constructs for thinking. It helps us make sense of the world around us. Decision making, the 40-70 rule. This rule is to never make a decision with less than 40% of the information you are likely to get and to gather no more than 70% of the information available. Productivity, create a not to-do list. This tactic is best for directing your attention to the essentials and avoiding what doesn't matter in the moment. Problem solving, study your errors. When we take the time to study the mistakes we make, especially those that have a lasting effect on our lives, we turn every mistake into a learning opportunity. We're entrepreneurs, guys. Don't ever make the same mistake twice. That's the way to go. Second order thinking. Most of us think about the consequence of our actions, but few of us think even 2 steps beyond the immediate effects of our actions will have on our lives. More of us are playing checkers than chess. I think that's what that says. So taking giant leaps. Every step you take in the process of becoming limitless is a step in the right direction. But what if you could move your genius forward exponentially? So thinking exponentially is having a good understanding of what the exponential mindset looks like. Let's look at the next slide. So it's like a hockey stick, right? The incremental mindset focuses on making something better, with the exponential mindset is focused on making something different. Incremental, satisfied with 10%, exponential is out for 10x. If you want to fire up your exponential thinking ability and take a huge step towards unlimiting your genius, consider these 4 steps next time you contemplate a problem or task in need of a solution. Number 1, get to the underlying problem. Number 2, post a new approach. Read about it and extrapolate. There we go. So we have a new host for next month. So I hope all of you definitely come out and support Pat. Pat, I'll reach out to you and we'll talk about it and go over everything. So next Friday, we will have an intro. I'll be here next Friday and I'll introduce Pat and we'll do the intro to the book. And so everybody go get your 4-hour work week if you don't already have it. As usual, thanks for joining us. Follow us on social media. Subscribe at Cashflow Chris on YouTube. This is where all of our videos will be located. If you need a VA, virtual assistance, please reach out and we want to help you build your business. And lastly, drum roll. We are giving away a book. All right, let me pull up the link. Maya, I know you sent me the link. I just got to go find it. Maya, if you're there, just post it for me here. Otherwise, I'll go back and look for it. Videos up. There we go. Found it. All right. So this should include anybody who's ever made it to the class. What you will win is I will buy you any of our books or the next book. So whatever you guys want. Jonathan already won because he remembered the 10. So everybody is eligible. Jonathan feels bad because he won last month. All right, here we go. And Elizabeth. Woo. There we go. All right, Elizabeth, congratulations. I know you're muted up, so no big deal. Let me know or let Maya know what book you would like us to send you. And then, of course, we'll need your address to send it. And we'll get going. Jonathan, also, let us know what book you want us to send you. It could be in any of our books or the next one. And I appreciate you all being here. This is not fun at all doing it by myself. So I hope you guys learned a lot. And I appreciate you being here. And as usual, give us ideas and tell all your friends about it. So thanks, and I'll see you guys next week for 4-hour work week introduction.
Thank you, guys.